You had come into contact with that motor vehicle, that there was an individual still inside of it, a deceased individual?
Correct.
That's Alicia Andrews, the only woman in the crew accused of taking Julio Foolio's life. She's staring down a life sentence for unaliving. But when the courtroom played footage of Julio's body, she laughed. Yeah, laughed. Like it was all some kind of joke. What came out of her mouth next froze the whole room, and word on the streets is that payback might already be in motion. Picture this. The courtroom's quiet, lights dimmed. Everyone watching that big screen showing surveillance footage from that Tampa hotel parking lot.
The pool party start today at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man. You got the address, pull up. If you need the address, DM me right now. The pool party start at 5, 6 o'clock.
You can almost feel the tension in the air as the sound of gunfire echoes through the speakers. Over 100 rounds fired in the middle of the night. The victim? 26-year-old Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio, real name Charles Andrew Jones II, who was out celebrating what turned out to be his last birthday on this earth. As prosecutors detailed that brutal ambush, describing how the shots tore through the night and ended Julio's life, the whole place was locked in. But right there, in the defendant's chair, Alicia wasn't shedding a single tear or showing any hint of regret. Nah, this 22-year-old woman with no street rep, no known gang ties, sat next to her lawyer with a smirk. She was fixing her lipstick, brushing on powder, and even smiling, like she was prepping for a photo shoot, not facing life for first-degree homicide, and it didn't stop there. The footage, recorded in 4K on October 22, 2025, during day one of her trial at Hillsborough County Court, exploded online within hours. Hip-hop pages like Daily Loud dropped the clip, pulling over 751,000 views, while Ked Kid's post racked up more than 820,000.
We came deep for my birthday, man. Everybody coming up to the yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Deep as hell. We deep as hell, 20 deep.
The comments were ruthless, calling her cold-blooded, heartless, and straight disrespectful. People couldn't believe how someone could sit through a homicide trial, watch footage of a young man's last moments, and laugh like it was nothing. So who really is Alicia Andrews? How did a regular 22-year-old woman with no street record and no ties to Jacksonville's fatal gang scene end up mixed up in one of Florida's most talked about rap? And why on earth was she laughing while prosecutors described what they called a hellish onslaught, the same one that left Foolio and 3 others bleeding out? To get what really went down, you gotta rewind the tape. Back to a world where rap lyrics ain't just music, they're warnings, coded messages, and straight-up end threats. Where one Instagram post could seal your fate, and where a young woman's relationship with the wrong man allegedly dragged her into a setup that prosecutors say was planned with clockwork precision. It all went down on June 22, 2024. Julio Foolio was celebrating his birthday and did what so many rappers do. He hit the gram. He posted every move from his hotel to the clubs, basically dropping a GPS pin for anyone who wanted him gone. The 26-year-old rapper had already dodged multiple attempts on his life, so being out in Tampa, miles away from his home turf in Jacksonville, probably felt safe. But that was a fatal mistake.
Alicia Andrews, these are her co-conspirators. Rashad Murphy, Davion Murphy, Sean Gaithright is her boyfriend at the time, Isaiah Chance. These were the 5 conspirators.
See, Foolio's crew, the 6 Block, had been locked in a brutal battle with rival gangs like ATK and 1,200 for nearly a decade. This wasn't some petty beef. This was a blood feud that took over 30 lives since the early 2000s. Diss tracks, taunting lyrics, live videos. They turned tragedy into content, bragging about bodies and mocking the end for clout. That night, Foolio was living it up. First at Teaser's strip club around 9 p.m., then sliding to Truth 18 nightclub for the after-party vibes. He was smiling, drinking, and going live surrounded by his people, completely unaware that just 200 miles away in Jacksonville, 5 people were already moving like a tactical unit. Surveillance cars, modified weapons with brass catchers, ski masks bought days before. Everything lined up for the hit. And right in the middle of all that planning, prosecutors say, was Alicia Andrews, not banging for any gang, but still deep in a plot that changed everything. Born on February 9th, 2003, Alicia Andrews wasn't no street queen or gang member. She had zero criminal history. No dirt, no priors, nothing to hint that she was ever caught up in Jacksonville's violent street politics. Her only connection to that world came through one thing: love.
A plot that had been hatched between them with every single one of their collective evil intentions directed into one common purpose, one common goal: the premeditated murder of Charles Jones.
She was dating Isaiah Chance, a 21-year-old certified member of both the ATK and 1,200 gangs, the same crews that had been locked in that fatal feud with Foolio's people for years. According to prosecutors, it was that relationship that pulled her into the madness. Cell phone data and surveillance cameras later showed Andrews and Chance riding in a silver Chevy Cruze, making that 200-mile trip from Jacksonville to Tampa on June 22nd. They weren't just driving. They were allegedly tracking Foolio the entire night, acting as spotters while the shooters followed close behind in a black Chevy Impala. Records say they shadowed him from spot to spot: the Airbnb that kicked him out for having too many guests, to the strip club, then to the after party. Alicia's phone even had messages about booking an Airbnb in Tampa, which prosecutors say proves she wasn't just tagging along. She was helping plan the setup. License plate readers caught both whips rolling down I-75 together. No stops, no detours, just a straight ride with fatal intentions. But Alicia's defense team painted a whole different picture. Her attorneys, Malcolm and Jeremy McClain, claimed she had no clue what was going on, that she thought the trip was a romantic getaway with her on and off boyfriend. They said she was stuck in an abusive relationship, scared and manipulated into going along for the ride without realizing she was caught in a plot. The court wasn't buying it though. Judge Michelle Cisco ruled in August 2024 that Alicia didn't qualify for a duress defense under Florida law, meaning she couldn't claim fear or coercion unless she was under imminent threat with no way to escape. The ruling made it official. She wasn't just there by accident. According to the state, she was part of it.
They moved rapidly into their pre-planned positions, into their firing locations. And then they immediately unleashed a hellish onslaught.
That ruling right there crushed one of Alicia Andrews' biggest defenses. It basically wiped out her claim that she was forced or manipulated, leaving her lawyers scrambling to argue that she simply didn't know what was going on, that she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They said her presence was circumstantial, not criminal. But the evidence that came next made that argument look real shaky. After Foolio's crew got kicked out of their Airbnb for rolling too deep, they pulled up to the Home 2 Suites by Hilton on McKinley Drive near the USF campus. It was around 4:30 in the morning on June 23rd, and Foolio was riding shotgun in a Dodge Charger. His homie Xavier Edwards behind the wheel, and another close friend, Gino Norris, sitting in the back. Two more cars full of Foolio's people pulled up beside them at the hotel's covered entrance, ready to finally crash for the night. But what happened next looked like something straight out of a battle zone, and every second was caught on camera. Security footage, nearby surveillance, even a Tesla's Sentry mode recorded the ambush from multiple angles. Prosecutors didn't hold back. Their opening statement painted a scene of pure evil. The footage showed that same silver Chevy Cruze, the one Chance was driving with Alicia in the passenger seat, creeping past the hotel, doing a U-turn, then circling back again. Prosecutors said that was the final recon, confirming Foolio's exact location and signaling the shooters to move in. Seconds later, 3 masked gunmen jumped out of a black Chevy Impala: 18-year-old Sean Gathright, 30-year-old Rashad Murphy, and 27-year-old Davian Murphy.
Mr. Jones, you will see in the evidence, not only produced this music, he produced music videos. Videos where he would travel to the gravesides of these individuals, or a graveside that was used in lieu of their graveside. and do things during the video like lay on their graves and sing around their graves and use sarcastic lyrics, pour champagne on their graves, rubbing it in the faces of ATK and 1200.
All three were dressed head to toe in black, faces hidden behind ski masks and balaclavas. Then came the storm. Prosecutors called it a vortex of high-powered rifle fire. Over 100 rounds flew through the night from rifles chambered in 5.56 and .300 blackout, plus a Glock 19 switched to full auto. Those rifles had been modified with black mesh brass catchers, gear meant to trap shell casings so police couldn't trace the bullets. Out of that insane amount of gunfire, only 31 9mm casings were recovered. The Charger was torn apart, hood, windshield, doors, all shredded like Swiss cheese. Foolio was hit multiple times. Bullets ripped through his chest, heart, lungs, aorta, and liver. Edwards tried to save him, slamming the Charger into drive and speeding alongside the hotel to escape the zone. But it was too late. The damage was brutal. Edwards got hit. Gino Norris caught one in his arm, and chaos filled the parking lot as the shooters vanished into the night. Camilla Bentley caught a bullet in her upper arm after 2 rounds tore straight through the back window. The whole thing was over in seconds. It wasn't some random shootout. This was a perfectly coordinated military-style execution that left Julio Foolio lifeless at just 26 years old and 3 others bleeding on the pavement. Foolio's girlfriend, Armani Turner, and the rest of his crew sprinted into the hotel lobby in sheer panic, leaving blood trails all the way up to the 3rd floor as they tried to find somewhere, anywhere, safe to hide. Once the chaos settled, the suspects scattered like ghosts, every move planned. The black Impala, used in the ambush, was ditched in Polk County, hidden at a relative's house by 18-year-old Sean Gathright. Meanwhile, Alicia Andrews, Isaiah Chance, and Rashad Murphy hopped into an Uber for the long ride back to Jacksonville. 3 hours, 208 miles, and a $187 fare that prosecutors say was paid for with blood money. But what came next made everyone's stomach turn. Around 1 p.m. that same day, just hours after Foolio's body dropped, text messages started surfacing from phones linked to the suspects. From Gathwright's phone came a message said to be from one of the Murphy brothers reading, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched. Pop a bottle of Don Julio today." A cold, heartless mockery. A twisted play on Foolio's stage name, and Don Julio tequila, celebrating a man's passing like it was some kind of victory toast. If that wasn't enough, Gathright even posted a picture of himself sipping Don Julio tequila online.
I'm the one that smacked Julio Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro. Ace had that money on his head, Ace had him put that 10K up, told me to slide.
Prosecutors pointed to that image as proof that this wasn't just Ender, it was mockery. A celebration of passing with zero remorse. And Alicia Andrews, she allegedly tossed her phone just 2.5 days after the slaying. Prosecutors say that was a clear sign of guilt, an attempt to erase evidence and wipe out her messages with the others involved. But the digital trail was already there, and every step, every call, every ride pointed back to her. To understand how it got this far, why Foolio's life was taken, and how a young woman like Alicia ended up in the middle of it, you gotta go back to where this battle really began. We gotta dig into the heart of one of America's fatal and most publicized gang battles, a conflict that's been tearing through Jacksonville, Florida for over a decade. This isn't just street beef. It's a full-blown battle that's left behind bodies, broken homes, and viral diss tracks that turned real tragedy into online entertainment. The battle between Foolio's 6-block gang, also known as KTA, short for Kill Them All, and the rival ATK, Ace's top slayers, alongside the 1,200 gang, runs deep, way deeper than most people realize. The spark that lit this fire started back in May 2017, when Julio Foolio's 18-year-old cousin, Zion Malik Brown, was shot and slayed inside his own home. That hit set off a vicious chain of retaliation that still hasn't stopped to this day. What began as local tension quickly spiraled into an all-out street battle, one that's been documented, streamed, and remixed into songs that racked up millions of views. But the feud exploded onto national headlines on June 5th, 2018. That's when Young and Ace, real name Kenyatta Bullard, the frontman of ATK, was ambushed after celebrating his birthday at St. John's Town Center. The attack left 3 people past, including Ace's brother and his close friend Royale Devon Smith Jr., better known as 23. Ace survived the hit, but the loss cut deep, and he believed Foolio's 6-block crew was behind it. That one night of bloodshed turned into years of non-stop get-back, each side trading bodies and dropping diss tracks like missiles. According to Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, the back and forth has claimed over 30 lives since the early 2000s, making it one of the most lethal gang rivalries in modern Florida history. Even the feds got involved. By 2022, the U.S. Attorney's Office labeled ATK as a structured organization tied to substance trafficking and organized violence, with the 1,200 gang acting as their ally in an ongoing battle against Foolio's 6 block. The streets turned into a battlefield, and no one, not even rising rap stars, was safe. What makes this gang battle unlike anything the streets have ever seen is how it's been amplified, celebrated, and immortalized through drill rap and social media. Drill rap, born out of Chicago in the early 2000s, was already known for being raw and unfiltered, painting vivid pictures of street life, violence, and revenge. But in Jacksonville, things went way further. The music stopped being art. It became a battlefield. Rappers like Foolio and Young and Ace weren't just dropping tracks. They were using their songs as weapons. Every verse, every bar, every video was a message, mocking the end, dissing rivals, and flexing about real crimes that had the city shaking. Foolio's most infamous track, When I See You, took things to another level. He name-dropped ATK members and referenced specific homicides. In one brutal line, he rapped, "He was smoking 23, that boy passed on his birthday." A clear shot at Royale Smith Jr., who was ended in the 2018 ambush that nearly took Young and Ace's life. But Foolio didn't stop with the music. He doubled down with visuals that pushed the disrespect off the charts. He filmed music videos standing over mock graves, danced on tombstones, poured champagne on burial plots, and threw up gang signs, all while racking up millions of views on YouTube. The internet turned it into entertainment, but for the people in those videos, it was real life. Of course, ATK and their allies didn't stay quiet. They fired right back. In 2021, Young and Ace dropped the viral track Who I Smoke, a twisted remix of Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles. It had a catchy beat, but the lyrics were pure venom, mocking 6 block members by name, literally smoking their rivals in the hook. It went insanely viral, but it also reignited a level of disrespect that poured gasoline on an already fatal feud. And the back and forth didn't stop there. Just 48 hours after Foolio was slayed, Young and Ace released another track that fans claimed referenced details of the Tampa hit, lines about 5 in the morning, and Mr. 6, eerily mirroring what happened that night. It was like the music and the homicides were feeding off each other, locked in a fatal loop that no one could stop. But the most jaw-dropping moment came in late 2023, when Foolio and members of his bully gang crew filmed themselves at Royale Smith Jr.'s grave, posing disrespectfully and posting the pictures online. That was seen as the ultimate line crossed. Furious ATK members and their NHG, No Hospital Gang allies vowed revenge. And just like that, the streets of Jacksonville were on fire again. Bodies dropping, beef reignited, and the cycle of payback spinning out of control. The casualties from this battle stretch way beyond just the rappers, man. It's taken out young affiliates, innocent bystanders, and even kids. The streets of Jacksonville have turned into a battlefield where no one's truly safe, and the violence just keeps spinning out of control. In March 2023, 16-year-old Adrian McKenzie, better known as BGY Bay, a young member of the Bully Gang, which is tied to Foolio's 6 block, was gunned down in a shooting at Moncrief Park that also left 3 others injured. Just weeks later, when people gathered to mourn him at his memorial, shots rang out again, wounding a woman in the crowd. Not even funerals are safe in this beef. That's how deep and twisted it's gotten. Then in August 2023, another young rapper from Bully Gang, Jaquan Pickens, known as Jake Jit, was ended in a wild 95 chase that ended in gunfire. He was only 18. Almost immediately, ATK-affiliated rappers like Wappa Wit Da Choppa mocked his passing in diss tracks, turning yet another tragedy into street clout. But karma hit right back. In October 2023, ATK rapper Antonio Tilly Jr. was unalived in what prosecutors believe was a setup involving an Uber driver. Investigators say there was a $20,000 bag placed on his head, showing just how calculated and businesslike this violence has become. And it didn't stop there. In December 2023, 21-year-old bully gang rapper Julian House, known as Rico Osama, was shot and ended outside a recording studio. 2 others were hit in that same attack. The most chilling part? Just days before, he had dropped a diss track mocking Tilly's passing. It's like every song became a sentence, every bar another reason for retaliation. But the violence didn't only touch the streets, it hit the innocent too. In January 2025, just 6 months after Foolio's own unaliving, tragedy struck again when a 7-year-old boy, Brian Allen, was caught in the crossfire of a drive-by shooting. Police say 6 block members opened fire on an ATK-affiliated rapper outside a home on Jacksonville's west side, trying to avenge a diss track called 6 Ways to Die, which disrespected 6 block members, including Foolio himself. 4 suspects were arrested, but nothing can erase what happened. A child lost his life because grown men turned grief into endless revenge. Even after Foolio's passing, the cycle hasn't stopped. It's still claiming lives, proving this battle's not just about music anymore. It's about destruction, with no finish line in sight. Julio Foolio's biggest claim to fame wasn't just his bars. It was his position as the face of 6 Block. He wasn't just a rapper, he was the gang's loudest voice, their public spokesperson, using social media and drill tracks to clown his rivals and glorify every supposed win his crew claimed in the streets. His music videos pulled in tens of millions of views, and across Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, Foolio had millions of followers watching every move he made. But that fame came with a fatal price. It made him a walking target. Foolio had already dodged passing 4 times before the one that finally got him. The most serious attempt came on October 7th, 2023, when he was ambushed in Jacksonville just after 6 a.m. He was leaving his crib in his Dodge Charger when a shooter opened fire with a high-powered rifle. Bullets ripped through the car, striking him in the lower body. But somehow, Foolio survived. He drove himself to the hospital, where doctors removed a bullet fragment that would later become key evidence in the case. Fast forward to his homicide months later, and that same fragment turned up again during his autopsy in Tampa, a haunting connection between both shootings. Ballistic experts confirmed that shell casings from the October 2023 attempt matched weapons and cars linked to Foolio's slayers. In fact, .223 rifle rounds found during a June 26, 2024 traffic stop involving Sean Gathwright's vehicle matched the exact weapon type used in both hits, proving this wasn't random. This plot had been building for months before Foolio's final ambush. Even after surviving so many close calls, Foolio wore his near-end experiences like badges of honor. He bragged about them in his songs, often crediting voodoo rituals for keeping him alive. Just 2 months before his passing in April 2024, he was still posting about how they can't touch me, flaunting his survival online like he was invincible. His mom, heartbroken and worried, had reportedly begged him to leave the rap game, telling him that fame was turning into an end sentence. But Foolio refused to stop. He kept posting his locations, performing, and talking reckless, convinced he was untouchable. Now all 5 suspects tied to his slaying are sitting in jail, each charged with first-degree premeditated unaliving. Prosecutors are seeking the end penalty for the 3 alleged shooters because of gang enhancements attached to the case. But Alicia Andrews, the woman who laughed in court, was spared from capital punishment since she doesn't have documented gang ties. Still, she's facing life in federal prison if convicted. As for Sean Gathwright, just 18 when arrested, prosecutors say he wasn't just part of it. He was behind the wheel of the black Impala that delivered the slayers to Foolio's door. Investigators say Sean Gathwright was no small player in this. He was a documented ATK and 1,200 gang member. Ballistics tied both a Glock 9mm and .223 rifle rounds found in his car during a June 26, 2024 traffic stop directly to the homicide of Foolio in Tampa and the earlier October 2023 attempt on his life. When police raided his crib, they hit the jackpot, a gun safe filled with rifles, including one rigged with a brass catcher, and 9mm shells that matched the Tampa crime scene perfectly. The kind of evidence that screams, this man was locked in from day one. Then there's Rashad Murphy, 30 years old, accused of being one of the masked shooters that night, allegedly using one of those same modified rifles with a brass catcher attached. He's also a known 1,200 gang member, and according to prosecutors, the one who actually booked the Airbnb under his own name, the same spot that was part of the setup. Rashad was arrested on July 30th, 2024, after a tense SWAT standoff where he refused to surrender. Now, word is he's prepping for a possible insanity defense, but prosecutors say those chilling "my thirst is quenched" messages sent after the homicide trace right back to his phone. His cousin Davian Murphy, age 27, is the third alleged shooter. Another 1200 affiliate with a long rap sheet, and it's ugly. Back in 2015, he got popped for auto theft. In 2016, he caught a charge for aggravated assault with a fatal weapon and did 7 months in the box. Then came a 2017 high-speed chase, 4 more months locked up, followed by a 2019 case for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, earning him another 6 months behind bars. Dude was no stranger to the system. After the Foolio hit, he managed to stay on the run for 6 months before the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office SWAT and gang unit finally cornered him on January 6, 2025. And then you got Isaiah Chance Jr., 21 years old, Alicia Andrews' boyfriend and alleged planner of the entire setup. Prosecutors say he was the middleman, coordinating comms between the lookout car and the shooters in real time. He's a verified ATK/1200 member, too. When cops raided his home on July 27, 2024, they found 2 Glock 9mm pistols and a Bully Down poster, a cruel reference mocking Foolio's bully gang crew. Even crazier, at the time of his arrest, Chance was already on an ankle monitor for another case. Detectives say he even told them once it came off he was gone for good and never wanted to be seen again. Those words got him denied bond on the spot. With all this stacked evidence, the case moved fast. Detectives piecing together digital trails, ballistics, and surveillance that painted one brutal picture. After Foolio got smoked on June 23, 2024, investigators wasted no time tightening the net around everyone involved, setting the stage for one of Florida's wildest and most watched trials yet. Tampa PD and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office came together fast, linking up surveillance footage, phone pings, license plate readers, and ballistic evidence to nail down exactly who was behind Foolio's unaliving. Within just over a month of the ending, the pieces started falling into place. On July 27, 2024, Tampa police and Jacksonville SWAT units rolled in and snatched up Sean Gathright at a shopping plaza, while Isaiah Chance and Alicia Andrews were both arrested at Chance's crib back in Jacksonville. 3 days later, on July 30th, another major bust went down when Rashad Murphy got booked after a tense SWAT standoff that had the entire block shut down. But one man, Davian Murphy, wasn't going quietly. He stayed on the run for 6 long months, ducking law enforcement while the feds and local gang units put his name at the top of every watch list in Florida. Finally, on January 6, 2025, Jacksonville's SWAT and gang task force cornered him. And this time, there was nowhere left to hide. Once they had all 5 suspects in custody, prosecutors wasted no time dropping the hammer. Every single one of them was hit with first-degree premeditated unaliving, conspiracy to commit homicide, and attempted first-degree unaliving for the 3 people who got hit by bullets that night. These are charges that come with mandatory life sentences. And for the 3 alleged shooters, prosecutors officially announced they were going for the end penalty due to gang-related enhancements that elevated the homicides to capital offenses. During the first round of bond hearings in August 2024, not one of the defendants got a break. The prosecution argued they were all serious flight risks with overwhelming evidence stacked against them. And the judge agreed. Even Alicia Andrews, who showed up to court pregnant with a due date set for February 2025, couldn't convince the court to let her out. Her lawyers tried to argue that she wasn't a danger to anyone, that she had no street history, and that her only crime was loving the wrong man. But Judge Michelle Cisco wasn't buying it. She denied bond outright, saying the charges were too severe and the proof of involvement too strong. Then came the deal. Prosecutors offered Alicia 18 years in prison if she pled guilty, but she turned it down, deciding to roll the dice in court. Her trial was supposed to start in August 2025, but it got pushed back after one of the lead prosecutors was hospitalized. When it finally began in October 2025, all eyes were on her. the woman who laughed in court, now fighting for her life as the biggest case in Florida hip-hop history unfolded before the world. On October 21st, 2025, jury selection kicked off in Hillsborough County Circuit Court, and the tension was heavy from the start. Over 80 potential jurors were grilled by the attorneys, asked about their views on rap music, gangs, social media, and whether they could really stay neutral in a case this explosive. Cameras were everywhere, and the story dominated headlines as court TV streamed every moment live, the world watching to see how the trial of the woman accused in Foolio's end would unfold. When opening statements finally began, Assistant State Attorney Scott Harmon didn't waste a second. He came out swinging. He told the jury this was no spur-of-the-moment crime, no random street beef. It was a premeditated execution, planned with precision over days. Harmon described the attackers as moving like ninjas, in perfect coordination, unleashing what he called a vortex of high-powered rifle fire that gave Foolio zero chance to survive. The courtroom went silent as Harmon rolled the surveillance footage, multiple angles synced together, from the Tesla's Sentry mode, hotel cameras, and nearby traffic footage. The video showed everything: the scouting laps, the timing, the synchronization, a full-blown tactical hit. Harmon told jurors that Alicia Andrews' role was crucial, that she wasn't just a bystander, but the eyes and ears of the operation. He said she relayed real-time info that allowed the shooters to move into perfect position and strike with fatal accuracy. Then came the legal hammer. Under Florida's law of principles, prosecutors reminded the jury that Andrews didn't have to pull the trigger to be guilty of first-degree homicide. If she helped make it happen, even indirectly, she was just as responsible as the ones who fired those shots. Harmon made it clear: if she wanted it done and helped make it happen, she owns the outcome. But the defense wasn't backing down. Defense attorney Life Malcolm stepped up and flipped the story completely. He told the jury that Alicia Andrews wasn't some cold-blooded conspirator. She was an outsider, a young woman with no street background, no gang ties, and no clue how deep her boyfriend's world really ran. Malcolm painted her as a victim of manipulation, caught in the orbit of a dangerous man and a lifestyle she didn't understand. He stressed that she wasn't dressed in black, wasn't masked up, and wasn't hiding, because she didn't think she was doing anything wrong. He said Alicia cooperated with police from day one, answering every question and handing over what she knew. The defense's message was simple, but emotional. She wasn't a mastermind. She was misled. As both sides clashed, it became clear this wasn't just about one woman's guilt or innocence. It was about how far accountability really goes in the fatal world of rap, gangs, and revenge. Prosecutors weren't letting the defense narrative slide for a second. They fired back, claiming Alicia Andrews lied multiple times during her police interviews, and that her statements didn't match the phone records, location data, or surveillance footage. The contradictions, they argued, proved she knew exactly what was going down that night. Defense attorney Life Malcolm tried to poke holes in the state's case, zeroing in on lead investigator Detective Juan Ramos, pointing out that this was his first ever homicide case, and that he'd only been in the homicide unit for 4 months before taking on one of Florida's most high-profile homicides. Malcolm suggested that inexperience might have led to mistakes in how evidence was collected or interpreted, hinting that maybe the dots were being connected in ways that didn't tell the full truth. Day one of testimony was emotional and chaotic. Witnesses who were partying with Foolio that night took the stand, describing the sheer panic and confusion when the gunfire broke out. One witness, who had previously dated the brother of a rival gang member, told the court she feared testifying could drag her into a potential RICO case, showing just how dangerous and intertwined this web of gang politics really is. By October 24, 2025, the trial was expected to stretch into another week, with both sides gearing up to bring in forensic experts, cell phone analysts, ballistic specialists, and gang experts to break down every move made that night. Prosecutors wanted to prove that Alicia's role as a lookout made her an active conspirator. The defense wanted to show she was simply a woman caught in something way bigger than herself. And this trial? It's just the start. Alicia's case was split from the other 4 defendants because of her non-gang status and the fact that the state wasn't pursuing the end penalty for her. The remaining suspects, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, Rashad Murphy, and Davian Murphy, are all set for a joint trial in April 2026, a showdown that's expected to bring even more shocking revelations to light. In the meantime, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters and Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw put their departments on high alert right after Foolio's unaliving. They stepped up both secret and overt surveillance across the city, trying to stop the next round of revenge shootings before they happened. Waters even went public, warning that law enforcement would intervene early and aggressively to prevent more lives from being lost. But despite all that, tragedy struck again. In January 2025, the shooting that ended 7-year-old Brian Allen showed just how hard it is to stop this endless cycle of retaliation. Prosecutors said it was a direct response to diss tracks that mocked Foolio and other fallen 6 Block members, proof that even after passing, the beef was still claiming innocent lives. And through it all, one name kept coming up, Young and Ace, Foolio's most famous rival, the leader of ATK, and the man at the center of countless rumors. During Davian Murphy's bond hearing in January 2025, investigators testified about Ace's high-ranking role and his alleged ties to the suspects. Then came the viral bombshell, a video from July 4th, 2024, just days after Foolio's passing, showing a masked man bragging that he was the shooter and claiming Ace put $10,000 up as a bounty. That clip lit the internet on fire, and while no charges have been filed against Young and Ace, the whispers in the streets say there's a whole lot more to this story than anyone's ready to admit. Police later investigated that so-called confession video, but confirmed it was completely fake. Once the real suspects were locked up, the truth came out. The man in the clip had nothing to do with Foolio's homicide. Afterward, Young and Ace finally spoke out during an Instagram Live, addressing Julio's passing directly. He claimed they had recently talked and that he told Foolio to stay out the way. Ace said, "That's sad. I don't condone stuff like that," trying to distance himself from the violence. But not everyone bought it. Social media lit up with skepticism. One comment that went viral read, "Nobody believes that. He's just trying to take the heat off himself." And honestly, that reaction summed up how divided the internet still is. Even though both the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and Tampa Police have publicly confirmed there's no active investigation into Young and Ace, his name refuses to fade. It keeps popping up in testimony, gang charts, and whispers from the streets, like a ghost that won't disappear. Now, as Alicia Andrews' trial continues with the entire nation watching, the big questions remain wide open. Did Alicia truly have no idea she was helping set up an unaliving, as her lawyers claim? Or was she a willing piece of the puzzle, feeding the shooters live updates that night like prosecutors insist? Will the jury see her as an innocent woman blinded by love, or as someone who played a silent but fatal role in Foolio's final moments? The evidence cuts both ways. Phone ping, surveillance clips, and text messages that place her near the scene but don't show her pulling a trigger. Still, under Florida law, if she helped make it happen, even from the passenger seat, she's just as guilty as the men who fired those rounds. Her fate now rests in the jury's hands, and when April 2026 comes, the spotlight will turn to her co-defendants, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, Rashad Murphy, and Davian Murphy, the ones facing the end penalty. Will prosecutors manage to send 3 young men to death row over a chain of violence born from rap lyrics, gang pride, and online disrespect? Or will cracks appear in the case once it's their turn to face the court? But maybe the biggest question of all is this: will the homicide of 26-year-old Julio Foolio finally force hip-hop in the streets to confront the fatal mix of drill music, gang culture, and social media that's turned Jacksonville into one of America's bloodiest battlegrounds? More than 30 lives have been lost in this feud, and still, the unaliving hasn't stopped. Whatever the verdict may be, one fact is undeniable. On June 23, 2024, in a Tampa hotel parking lot, Julio Foolio took his final breaths on what was supposed to be his birthday celebration. A life cut short in the crossfire of fame, beef, and betrayal. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Was Alicia really just caught up in love? Or did she know exactly what she was doing? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. I'll see you in the next one.